Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Zach Hampson, and today I've got something very special to share with you all. I'm starting a brand new interview-esque, podcast-esque series with a twist that's going to span the entirety of this year. Now, the twist to this series is that while I'm performing the interview, while we're chatting, while we're having a good interview, I will be drawing or painting sometime in the future, but primarily I will be drawing them throughout the interview. So as the interview progresses from start to finish, you will see me draw a portrait of this person start to finish with the interview. So without further ado, this is a brand new series. The format is up to change. You know, I'm still working out the kinks of filming and editing, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you have any ideas to change up the format, how things look. You know, I might do a switch camera sort of thing in the future, but I don't know, this seems to work. I like it. I like how you get to see everything all on the one screen. But let me know in the comments down below. The series is up to change with how that operates, but I hope you enjoy. This episode is with Jacob Bourne, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
here we go.
Jacob,
Here we go.
welcome.
Thank you for having me.
This is the first, I'm going to make this the first official episode of a new series, which I will come up with a title now called Draw That Man.
I love it. Yeah.
Nah, I don't know. Well, it's a working title.
Creative juices, try and find something.
So the whole premise of this is that, you know, it's like a drawing interview with whoever the guest may be. This week, Jacob, whoever the guest may be later on. But I'll be drawing them here, as you can see, this camera here. Hey. Right here, I'll be doing like a little charcoal drawing of Jacob as we talk and, you know, just talk about whatever, really. There's nothing in particular that, you know, we're trying to look for here. We're just enjoying being human beings, enjoying each other's company and talking about whichever may come. So, yeah, Jacob, I want to let the camera people know a little bit about you, you know, say a few words while I start drawing up here, man. You know.
Do you want me in a particular position before I start?
Oh, actually, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Maybe could you sit up a bit more?
Yeah.
This angle's rather fine. If you just keep looking at me,
Mm.
that's a good frame of reference. Yeah, that's fine. That's good. That's solid. That's a nice, because I've got the light up there. It's coming through, so it's
it's a
nice,
good
like
angle.
shadow on that side. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and that I don't think I'll be. So I probably won't be drawing Jacob from life the whole time, but we'll do the interview, right? And what I'm thinking is we'll do the interview. I'll show you drawing Jacob as we talk, but there'll come to a point in the interview where I'll speed up the drawing side of the video, but keep the interview going how it normally is. And the drawing side, I'll continue on because Jacob will be gone, and I'll finish the drawing while Jacob's gone from like a photo or something like that, just because I don't want Jacob to sit here for the next 3 hours. You know, some guests might be cool with that, but for this episode, this is what I'm gonna do. I'll let the interview roll quickly, like roll just normally, and then the video of the drawing side of things, I'll speed that up into when it finishes. And so that when the interview finishes, the drawing will finish simultaneously. So that's the idea. That's the thought. I came up with it just then. Sounds like a good one. What do you think?
Yeah. I think it's, you fell into it really easily.
Yeah.
I think it's gone well.
Yeah.
Sick.
Alright. Yeah, so Jacob, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do? Who are you as a being on this planet, man?
Alright. Well, as a being on this planet, they'll tell you that I'm 23 years of age. And so at the moment, I'm currently working 3 different sort of streams of income. I'm working as a retail assistant for a company called Kathmandu.
Yeah.
I'm also working as a baker just for Coles, and I'm a guitar tutor. And I've got my own podcast as well.
So. A guitar tutor, hey?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
Oh, really?
Or maybe you did tell me once, and I can't remember.
Yeah, it's something it's like, I don't advertise it like crazy. I just like, if anyone asks, because people know that I'm a musician.
Yes.
So I've just got the students that I'm familiar with. And
where do you teach that? Where do you...
Just in my studio at home.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you get the full setup for all of that sort of stuff, hey?
Yeah, it's sick. It's sort of like it used to be like a full-on studio with like my bed in it, and my bed's like around the other side, but it's sort of like half gym, half studio now.
It is, hey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a bit of a mixture of stuff. But yeah, so I just bring my students in there, and we just sit down for however long we've organized it for, and then we learn some stuff.
Yeah. Well, with that gym stuff, hey, have you seen those adjustable, what are they called? Adjustable dumbbells? Have you seen those?
Yeah,
they go up to like 50 kilos,
I've got,
and you can adjust them up to like 50 kilos, and they're just that one set.
They're like
and
the block ones. And
yeah, the
like,
block ones. Yeah. Have you seen those things?
I have seen them. I've got ones.
What do you think about those ones?
The Iron Master. Have you heard of that?
No, are they
basically, they are adjustable. You get like a bunch of plates.
Oh, so they're
and you
separate
can, like,
plates.
Screw in the plates. And
Yeah.
But it's like really quick, and it's like super safe. They're like the best ones in my opinion. You can like throw them off a building and they'll be sweet. Yeah.
The plates, that is, or
yeah. And the actual like handles, they're like so sturdy because it's just like solid metal. Whereas
So
these block ones are sort of like, I don't know. I've heard that. I actually tried one out once.
Oh yeah.
It just felt a bit weird. It was like.
Did it?
It doesn't feel like a dumbbell.
Oh,
It just
okay.
feels like.
There's some different type of designs other
Yeah.
than just a block brand one. There's this one that I saw which is a bit more circular, normal dumbbell looking thing,
Nice.
and you can just have the slider on it to up to whatever. But the rest of the thing isn't blocky, like, and it's, you know how the blocks have those straps on the side, you know, like that. This one is just a circle thing, and it's just like a gauge, and you can pull it up and down on either side of the thing, and then it's just a regular sort of dumbbell sort of grip.
Yeah.
And you just pick it up like that. That looks more natural than the block thing does.
Yeah.
So I get how that block would kind of look and feel kind of.
Strange.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Now that you say that, I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I've been looking into doing something like that, but I have a membership to Anytime Fitness. So
they've just got their whole.
yeah, you got a full gym. You got a full gym. So it doesn't really matter. So,
Yeah,
but
I
was like, that'd be nice to have here in the studio, you know, while I'm painting and stuff, like crack out a couple of sets.
Yeah.
Because it's just, oh, fuck, dude. You got to realize, like, when you're just painting there and you're just using your mind, you know this, you probably, when you're just using your mind so much that you got to just step back and start using your body.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the big hurdles that I ran into when I was doing music, because I studied at the Australian Institute of Music for like nearly 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And I didn't end up finishing the degree because it sounds so weird to say this, but I feel like I broke up with music.
Oh.
Like I fully, like, as much as you'd break up with like a person,
Yeah.
that same heartbreak would like translated over to music. And one of the reasons for it was that my life became so sedentary because I was just like, and I explain it like this to people. I say, like, you're sitting in the car on the way to the train station, then you're sitting on the train on the way to uni, then you're sitting down for like a 2 or 4 hour lecture, and you're sitting down eating lunch.
Yes.
And then you do the same thing on the way back.
Lots
and then what
of-
are you doing in your spare time? Well, I'm either doing assignments, which are music related.
Sitting.
And if I'm not doing assignments, which is sitting,
Yes.
I'm doing, I'm just writing music for myself, which is also sitting. Sitting at a keyboard, you know, trying to come up with some ideas, or sitting down playing guitar, or just, you know. It's like, and then you start thinking, man, I don't have any money for like healthy food. And I haven't moved in like 3 weeks.
Yes.
So it's like, fuck, why am I so depressed? I don't know.
I wonder what it is.
Yeah. Who knows? And then you start moving. You take a break from uni. You start eating better. You start moving again. And then you go, wow, where did all this energy come from?
Where the fuck was that?
Yeah, it's like something must. Yeah. But I think the mind follows the body 100%.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, it does.
So, yeah. I mean, all the happiest people are the healthiest people, in my opinion.
Yes.
And I don't think there's a coincidence there.
There's fucking certainly not.
Probably a bit of a cause and effect.
Some of the oldest books that we have in this world talk about that.
Yeah.
You know, like some of the oldest books ever written always talk about, you know, having a healthy body equals a healthy mind.
Yeah.
It's like we somewhere along the path we're just like, it became such a cliche that we just forgot about it.
Exactly.
And now it's back and we're like, oh, what the fuck, really?
yeah.
It's like,
It's
and
like this
all
new
of,
trend.
yeah, all of our ancestors are looking down upon us, going like,
You fucking idiot.
how many times did we have to put this into writing? Like, fuck.
Yeah. I
And
love
now
that.
you got like little fucking YouTube entrepreneurs being like, let me tell you something. Having a healthy body equals a healthy mind. And everybody's like, what the fuck? Let me buy that $200 course.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let me.
What
pay
does that
like
mean?
Thousands of dollars on
What
this
does that
program.
mean? What does that mean?
Yeah.
As if it means anything other than what it is.
Exactly, man. Yeah, but I think it's interesting the way like you alluded to it just a second ago. We've sort of forgotten about that. Do you reckon when things become cliches and trendy that people stop doing them? I think that's something I've found.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because you don't want to be like you want to be different, right? And if everyone's doing the same thing, then it's
Everybody's like, yeah, okay, well, that's enough.
It's like,
But that's not everything, though, because everybody has a fucking job.
yeah. Well,
So that's kind of a cliche.
that's
but
it's
then-
true, yeah.
But then people are like, well, I've got to have a job.
yeah. I'm
So there's some
have a non-job.
cliches, you know, because what do you ask people when you meet them? You go,
It's like, what do you do?
what do you do?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and people, when you say, I don't do anything, people will be like, "Ooh, so you're broke? That's the first train of thought.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, so he doesn't do
Oh,
anything.
he's
so,
homeless.
okay, so
oh,
he's
whoops, I just
homeless."
accidentally met a homeless
Yes.
guy. Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting how I
Mm.
mean the rise of entrepreneurship is a thing
Oh,
like that's
fucking-
happening at the
yeah.
moment. That people are starting to realize that I don't have to like subscribe to this idea that I have to like work for someone else, work for a company, and just go in and do the job and wait for my paycheck. I can actually like
Yeah.
be in charge of my own income, and
Yeah, man.
well, it's harder, but I think it's like
Yeah,
way
it's
more
fucking-
fulfilling.
Way harder, but who said fucking life is supposed to be a breeze?
Exactly.
Like they say,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Well, and just to relate it back to working out and fitness and stuff, like, I mean, all the healthiest people, as I said, are the happiest people. They're also the
Yeah.
most driven, I'd say, because there's just something about like exercise that translates to the real world
It does.
so well.
It does.
Especially sports, and in my opinion, especially combat sports, because
Yeah.
every day you're meeting adversity, and that's the other thing that I do is I train MMA like 5-6 days a week, and that's like my main passion. I pretty much gave up music just to start like training in MMA. So like boxing, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, wrestling. It's like whatever we're doing at the moment, whatever our team and our coaches are
Yeah.
passionate about at that moment. That's
Yeah,
what
you've
we're
been
learning.
real into that, man.
Yeah. It's
How
like,
did that first come about? What was that connection that sparked it? Or
I sort of grew up doing karate. And
fucking one
yeah.
of those fucking kids.
One of those kids.
Jesus.
yeah. Yeah, one of those, yeah. I'd strap on my belt and my gi, and I'd
Yes.
think, I don't know, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Motherfucking Bruce Lee just walked in the building.
Yeah. It was a very humbling sort of upbringing with learning karate, because I started learning it when I was probably about 7 years old,
Yes.
and then up till about 14 or 15, I had earned my black belt at that point. So I was like pretty young to be a black belt in karate.
Yeah.
And then I broke my leg.
Oh,
So
geez.
and it was like a pretty bad break. I was in a cast for about.
How's it ever a good break?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like it's never. I would not recommend it.
Yes.
It's like I've broken a lot of bones at this point.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. That's
From
never
martial
fun.
arts?
Actually, not ever from martial arts. I've had a lot of like muscle tears and things from.
Okay.
And from martial arts, but never any bone breaks. Actually, I think I broke my nose during. I think it was during karate.
So what
at a
did the leg?
tournament.
What did the leg?
I just fell down some stairs at
You
school.
fucking
yeah,
what?
I was like running around. I think some guy, a friend of mine, just like came up and like sack whacked me or something. And so
Oh,
I
Jesus.
just, being a
The old
14-year-old kid,
the old sack whack.
the old sack whack. It's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
And so I just like got up and chased him, and he
Uh-oh.
like jumped down the stairs, and
then
I just like quapped it, and I was like fucking like fell down the stairs, and it was like my ankle like up towards my shin, like the lower half of my shin,
yeah.
and that was pretty embarrassing. I had I was just sitting there, and my friend just took off, just like thinking that I was still chasing him, I guess.
No, of course.
And then some girl that was in the year above me, she was like built like a brick shithouse, and she was just like, "You okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." It's like I've clearly broken something.
Fuck, dude.
And she literally just picked me up and
She
just
picked you up?
fireman carried me
She
to
picked
the
you up?
office. Yeah,
Who the
it was like
what
it was the
the
most humiliating. I
fuck?
don't know if breaking my leg was the most humiliating thing, or being fireman carried by a girl
Fuck.
to like
So
to the office and
nobody cared that you broke your leg. They just cared. They just cared that some chick in your year
yeah.
picked you up like a doll
Yeah, and just like
and
yeah.
just lobbed you to the
Just- yeah.
fucking.
I think I
office.
remember trying to wiggle out of her arms and being
Really?
like, "No, I'm fine, it's cool." No,
You couldn't wiggle out?
Yeah, no. It's like a python had me. He's like, "Arr." But yeah, so I broke my leg, and then I went over to America because I had to. My dad got transferred over to America for work, and because I was super
Okay.
young,
Yeah.
I had to go with him. 'Cause he
Yes.
was still,
Well, yeah.
Yeah, my
At that
dad.
point, you
Yeah,
can't just
yeah,
like go
just-
get a job.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm moving out. I'm 14.
Yeah.
And and so we got back and we were over there for like a few months, and my leg was still broken. It was like still
Oh,
healing
really?
at that
Fuck.
point. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that
And-
makes sense.
And then after I got the cast off, I was in a moon boot for like another
Oh,
few
man,
weeks, and
the fucking process of healing.
yeah, it was like a long process, and
Yeah.
so by the time it was all like healed up, I just like never went back to karate, and
Really?
like I've broken it 2 more times since then, like the same
Oh
ankle.
fucking hell!
So yeah, I like move it around and it like starts clicking and stuff.
Oh.
So,
Ah,
yeah.
whoa! Fuck.
yeah.
Did are they? I don't know if the shit.
Yeah, but so yeah, it's just like a pretty like gruesome little injury that I've got there. But
Dude, fucking hell.
but then I went through high school and I went through uni, and then I had a friend who I hadn't spoken to for like years, and I just happened to see him on the train. And we just caught up, and I'm like, "Hey, man, what are you up to with your life?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm training. You know,
Okay. So that
I'm
sparked
at
it
this
again.
gym." And he's like, "You should come." And so I was like, "Sure." So that night, I went and trained at the gym, and
Yeah.
we had a jiu-jitsu class, and it
Oh,
was
cool.
the first night of like combat training that I'd had for like
Years.
years, like probably 7 years, and it was like
Yeah.
so odd. And I remember doing the class, then coming home and just having a massive panic attack and like an anxiety attack. I didn't know why either. I was like, wow, it's just
Yeah.
like crazy. And I think it was just because my nervous system wasn't used to being like thrown around and manhandled for like an
Yeah.
hour and a half by like
Jeez.
trained killers. And so I got over that, and then I just decided the best way to overcome this like fear of combat is to just keep going back. And so I just kept going back, and then
That's the only way,
became
isn't it?
super addicted to it. And so I've just been training there ever since, and I've been passionate about it, but I've also been incredibly stupid at the same time.
What's that mean?
Because I kept getting injured and training with like people that I shouldn't have been training with, that were like
Rolling with some bigger dudes.
rolling with some bigger dudes, and I've ended up, since I've been training for the last couple of years there, and since I've been serious about it, I haven't gotten any injuries, but during that stupid phase of my training, I've torn my neck, I've torn my shoulder, I've
God.
ruptured my calf muscle.
Torn your neck. You just fucking pulling out of a move too fast. Was it? Or
Yeah,
something?
well, I was
Or-
training with a much bigger guy who doesn't train there anymore.
Right.
But he was notoriously aggressive
Oh.
to like newbies.
Oh.
And so, yeah, he was a lot bigger than me, and he wasn't very skilled, to be honest, either.
Oh
and
Jesus!
so he,
So he's just some big dude throwing his weight without
Yeah.
really.
and he literally just like fell on my neck,
Ah.
and I just felt it. I heard it before I felt
Oh,
it, and it just went
fuck.
like that, and it sounded like paper tearing.
Fuck.
No, oh, that was my reaction. And
Yeah.
I sat there on the ground. I laid down on the ground, and just for that brief second after I tore it, I wasn't sure if I'd broken my neck or what had gone on. So I like started wiggling my toes around, and I was like, no, I can wiggle my toes. That's a good sign.
Yes.
At least I think I'm wiggling them.
Yes.
And then I started wiggling my fingers around, and then I got up and I was like, okay, well, clearly I didn't break my neck, which is like I didn't snap.
But you felt
anything.
something.
But I felt
straight
something.
away.
And then for like months after that, I couldn't turn my head past like this point here. And then that side was like fine, but like there, my head would start shaking.
Fuck.
And so I just got, hooked up with some massage therapy and remedial massage. And then I got a massage gun, which did the most benefit for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you just hold that yourself and just go...
Yeah, just like...
Oh, yeah.
My barber bought two by accident with his credit card.
What the fuck? How do you do
For some
that?
reason, he couldn't refund.
Was he trying to buy one?
Yeah,
he's trying to buy one. So he didn't just buy...
And then he accidentally clicked two and didn't realize, and then two arrived.
Yeah, well, that's sometimes. I'm guilty of that shit.
Yeah. And so... Yeah, he sold it to me, and
so he didn't just give it over.
yeah, no, I bought it.
Yeah.
I bought it. Yeah, and yeah, so I've been using it on my calf muscle because I've got a massive like bunch of scar tissue that just like protrudes out of there because I ruptured it.
You tore it.
Yeah,
or ruptured it rather.
Yeah, or tore it.
Yeah, same thing.
And yeah, and so, but yeah, it's just been taking care of myself since I decided that because I'm a pretty like lean. Like small guy. I'm one of the lightest guys that train at that
How
gym.
heavy are you?
I'm
like 60, 80,
no,
70?
About 68 to 70.
68 to
I'll
70,
wake up about 68 and then by the end of the day I'm about 70.
About 70, yeah, you definitely look it. Look it. And I'm more in the fucking 120, 110 fucking mark.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Shit, dude. I wouldn't have expected that.
Well, the height hides it because I'm 6'4".
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You know, the height hides a lot.
Yeah.
You know, if I was like, even like if I was just 6 foot, I think, or if, like 5'9", 5'8", then you'd really see it. I reckon.
Yeah.
Like it would come out of my arms, and my belly, and everything. I reckon.
It's got to go some way.
Yeah.
Go up or
stretched.
Yeah.
Stretched the fuck
but
out.
I'm not that tall either. I'm only 5'9", and which is I guess is about average height. But for my weight, I'm pretty tall. So but yeah, so that's that aspect of it. Yeah, I did actually get to the point when I was deciding maybe I should stop getting injured. It's like, well, what are one of the ways I can tackle this issue? And so I started trying to gain some weight. So I spent more time in the weight room on the opposite side of the fence, and I got up to about 75 kilos just of like lean weight, like relatively lean weight, and then I got really badly sick, and like I got a gastro virus, and then after the gastro virus, I got this really, really terrible flu. It was like the worst flu I've ever had. For like 2 weeks, I was just like incapacitated, and then by the end of the flu, I'd lost about.
Oh, you lost it all.
Yeah, like somewhere around 8 kilos, and so I was then. Since I've started training again, I sort of have bounced back to my normal weight, which is 68. So I feel like maybe I'm meant to be at 68. Maybe my body's just not designed to be heavier than that.
68's not fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to be fucking.
Yeah.
That's why they got fucking featherweight divisions and all that shit.
Yeah. I'd be probably cutting down to bantamweight, if anything. So I'd have to cut down to 62, I think, bantamweight.
Yeah.
Is.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
What do you got left on you then?
Yeah, not much. But that's just the way it goes, I suppose. Yes, no rhymes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you got a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
We have a podcast.
The Young People's Podcast. Plug. Right now.
Go find us on
Season
Spotify.
2. Season 2 is
dropped.
just about to happen.
Yeah.
It's like when's the first episode? Next week?
Yeah, next week.
Next week, Monday.
Yeah. Actually, Wednesdays now.
Wednesdays now.
Yeah, we're switching it over to Wednesdays.
Why is that? Any particular thing?
I think it just worked better for Lockie, who's my other co-host.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know why he just decided that Wednesday was a better day for him to do it.
Okay.
He's like, I'm not going to argue. I mean, it doesn't faze me.
Yeah. If it works, it works. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the Young People podcast. We've been doing that for most of last year, and then we didn't expect to do a season 2. We just expected to just keep rolling. With the Young People podcast. But we sort of went off track a bit towards the end of the year
Mm-hmm.
because we decided that if we were going to do the podcast, we were going to be super, super efficient with it. So
Yes.
I think I remember telling you about it, and
Tell me a little bit. Yeah.
it was that we would pre-record our episodes.
Mm.
And so, we'd get a guest in and we'd talk to the guest, and then we do what we'd call a topic episode. So it was just Lockie and I
Yes.
talking about an issue. For example, like Comfort Zone, that was one of our more popular episodes. And then we wanted to just be in front of schedule all the time. And so we went through a period where we were just like banking up episodes. And even if we didn't end up using the episode, it was there just like as a reserve. Like if something ever happened, like a
Episodes
guest,
with guests or episodes just with you two?
us, yeah. If a guest ever came in, we'd always release that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's too much like for it not to be.
Yeah. And then that got to the point where we were so far ahead that we didn't end up recording an episode for like months at a time because we were literally like months ahead.
Yeah,
like,
you're like, well, why do we need to fucking? We're set,
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
We're fucking killing it. Fuck.
And then one day,
Efficiency.
yeah, one day I woke up one Monday and Lockie had sent me like 50 freaking messages, and he was like, "Holy shit, we're out of episodes." I just like forgot about it. They were just on like an auto release thing. And so they were just getting released every Monday until we thought that we were just like in front of it.
Sitting pretty.
Yeah. And
but no.
Yeah. And then fuck, it was like, oh, holy shit. We've missed an episode.
There it goes.
And and so we sort of threw that idea out the window. It's like, why don't we just record them as they come and then release them? And they'll stay more relevant for one. Yeah.
Because you can interact with what people say on that previous episode.
Exactly, yeah.
In the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Like a couple of podcasts I do that are a bit pre-recorded like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they end up replying to people like many episodes later from episodes like 5 episodes ago.
Yeah.
And it's a bit disorientating because then you put something out there for people to talk about and you don't get back to it till 5 episodes later. And it's like, oh, by that point it's like gone, People are like, okay. Well, all right, why are we talking about this now? That was like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
like 5 weeks ago.
It's so weird. Like, and you sort of want to stay up to date with like current issues as well.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I don't know if you guys knew this, but I just found out about this relatively recently.
What's this?
With South Park, sometimes they'd like be still writing and like editing a show or animating
by the week.
a show by the day sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like it's being released today. We haven't finished the episode.
Yeah.
It's like we're still doing it. And
they're fucking nuts, hey. They've been doing that ever since they fucking started.
Yeah. And it's so crazy. I think those guys are like the coolest dudes.
They're fucking on it though.
Yeah. Yeah. They're really
They've done
cool.
it for so long,
Remember after their Satan episode where they like the
Which
Antichrist was born or something like that. I can't remember exactly what happened, but it was such like a crazy episode that some journalists went out and like hired some private investigators to like spy on them to see like these guys must be fucking creeps. It's like they just created like the worst like satanic episode known to man of any show.
Which episode was that? What happened in it?
So I actually haven't seen it, but this is just
okay.
what I've
So
heard.
you've heard,
but yeah,
because me and Av are pretty big fans of South Park.
Oh,
and
okay.
I've seen every episode.
Right, it's something to do with the Antichrist. Like the Antichrist is born, and they like have to kill it or something like that. But it's just such a weird episode. That
I think I remember. Was it a much older one?
yeah, probably. I mean, this was a long time ago.
Okay. Yes. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, and the this newspaper or these journalists or someone decided to hire some private investigators to spy on them to see what drugs these guys are smoking.
Yes.
Yeah, and they turned out to be like the two normalist guys.
They fucking
like,
are. They're fucking
just
little nerds.
Yeah, they're just fucking nerds. and they just don't do anything but just like watch and examine pop culture and then integrate that into their episodes. And that's how they have stayed so relevant, because everything's about what's happening today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
they're fucking on it.
yeah,
they're real
they are
on it. I
mean,
remember them
it's
talking
hustlers.
about when they were doing the lead up for the election with Donald Trump and stuff, and they said they got to a point where they couldn't keep up with, like, because they were trying, in the episodes, they were trying to fucking make it real ridiculous
Yeah.
with what's the name was saying and shit, and they were like, oh, well, kind of life is outpaced art here, 'cause we're at our wit's end, like, unless we start doing some real crazy shit, which they ended up doing through that whole arc, which was pretty fucking funny. They were just like, well, you know, life is kind of funnier than it is on what we're making it, so we're kind of just gonna just follow our own thought process on this and kind of leave it be.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's so weird, like, because they're constantly trying to push the envelope and exaggerate life. And it's like, we've got a president who's doing it himself. It's
yes.
Like, well, not we, but, you know,
him.
America.
Yeah. I don't have anything against the guy. I think
I don't, to be honest,
whatever.
I'm so apolitical at this point. Like,
fucking, yeah.
I used to be so, like, political. It was ridiculous.
It's a fucking cancer, man. It's a cancer.
And, like, it's like that meme. It's like, no, I'm not going to be political this time. And then 2-3 drinks in, it's like, and
have you heard what? Yeah, and it just goes from there.
Yeah. It's like, Chancellor Palpatine is evil. And,
well, I think the Jedi are evil.
But, yeah, again, as you said, it literally just became like a disease. It's like, I can't.
It is.
Like,
it fucking is.
And it's like, I'm
People
getting
need to
so
relax.
I'm so into it, and
That's how they get you, man.
yeah, and it's like my voice isn't really like
Nobody gives a fuck.
doing much at all. It's like no one cares.
Of course not.
And so it's like whatever. You've just got to like live your most virtuistic life, you know.
Yeah.
Control what you can control with your own life, and then
yeah,
you know?
Leave it as it may with whatever else.
Exactly.
That's just the whole thing, man. You know, like, you can never really, like, it's just, if you, what I've been listening to lately, to round back to what we're talking about now, is a guy called Alan Watts. You know Alan Watts at all?
No.
He's a guy from like the 80s, 60s. He sort of coins himself as like a spiritual entertainer.
Okay.
And he used to record all of his lectures and stuff before like people did that, which is really fucking cool because everything's in his own voice. And so on Audible they have his books, which are really just an accumulation of his lectures in series about certain topics which follow the same sort of thought process. And so he's got like 2 books on Audible that are all read by him because he's recorded all of his things in like 16 hours long. And so listening to him talk about because he's really about Zen, and he's really about quite a lot of things to do with Zen, but he takes it in such a really thoughtful, really understanding sort of way that it's just, you sit there and you listen and you feel like something in your mind's really, really clicking to it. You really feel like something's really working here. You don't know what it is yet. And then by the time he sort of gets through his lecture more and more, you're just like, oh, fuck, yeah, okay. I am the universe. I am the universe experiencing itself.
Yeah.
And it's fucking incredible because he talks, like, one of the biggest things he talked about was, one of the things, well, not the biggest thing he's talked about, but one of the things that stuck with me recently with one of his lectures that I was listening to is that he was talking about the present, and he's talking about time, and he talked about how there isn't a past and there isn't a future because everything that happened in the past only happened in the present. And things that have happened can only happen in the present, and things that are going to happen can only happen in the present. So really, there's only ever the present. Whoop, nearly kicked over the bin. And so really, there only is the present that you can ever really be in. So people that have happened and things that have happened in the present. And so he takes it all the way back to the birth of the universe. Yeah. The birth of the universe didn't happen then. Yeah. It happened now, in the present. It was the present. And so the universe happened in the present. And by that thought process, the universe happening in the present, in the creation, is still happening now, right now, in the present with us. And so he relates that back to, we are the universe. Yeah. We are the universe as it is happening right now. Yeah. And sort of brings it to this whole spiritual awakening of the mind and realizing that how he puts it is that we're all players in a play.
Mm-hmm.
We're all actors in a scene. We're all characters. We're all fooled ourselves so well that we believe that we are the character that we're playing. We believe that we are this person who has this role, who has this persona. And the persona word is very funny because he talks about where it comes from, talks about the Greeks wearing the masks in the plays, and persona means masks from those masks that they used to wear in the plays.
Mm-hmm.
And so we associate this player, this idea of ourselves with us, instead of us being separate from what we think we are here. And he talks about how there's many ways you can look at the world. He says there's a porcelain method of the universe, which means something created. So way of looking at the universe, there's something created. We're created. There's a creator. We're things created from a creator as objects, as things to do certain things, cogs in a wheel sort of thing. And then there's an automatic view of the universe where things just are. You come into being, you slot through, and then you slot out. Essentially, this automatic sense of the universe. And then what he proposes is that we're in a theater. We're in this play. We are these players in this play. We are God. We are the universe. But we've forgotten that we are the universe because we're playing this game where we are now.
Right, okay.
And so he goes into this whole thing. So to bring it back to what we're talking about is we only are ever ourselves, and whatever happens here is what's happening here. You know, it's just a game, really. And you can leave when you want, or you can stay. You know, you can choose to opt out. You know, there's nobody stopping you, and there shouldn't be anybody stopping you. That's your right. If you want to opt out, you can opt out. You know, he talks about why are we so desperate to cling on to life for just life's sake, you know? Once we realize that letting go is an option, that death is an option, and it shouldn't be feared, it's just another process of being, you know, then you realize that you can let go. Then you realize that being here right now is a choice, really, you know? And so he talks about once you've realized that, and you realize that this is all a game, there's two ways you can take it. Some people that when they realize that, they're like, okay, well, I'll off myself. Goodbye. That's perfectly reasonable. You know, why shouldn't you off yourself? You know, this place is pretty hard to operate in, you know. It's a very strenuous game. But he argues that once you know it is a game, and you realize it is a game, and you realize you are the universe experiencing itself right now, you can play the game to its fullest extent without worrying about anything. Because that doesn't matter to you. The game doesn't matter to you. Nothing matters to you, really. You just realize that you are yourself, truly yourself, not Zach Hampson, not Jacob Bourne, but we are ourselves. And you realize that you can be in this game and play it to its fullest extent because you realize that it is a game. You realize you don't necessarily, you know, have a choice that has to lead to that other choice. And, oh, God, that's a bad choice. And, oh, shit, I can't do anything about it. You realize that, oh, well, that's that, you know, everything as is. And so nothing really worries you anymore. And that's when you can really sort of open your mind and sort of experience everything as is. And so talk about what happens is people get so caught up in the game that they forget themselves and they forget that they are something bigger than just this person who has a particular sort of view on the world. They forget that, you know, we are more than just this so-called modern, I guess the popular belief is like we're a thing inside a bag of meat, really. Where he would argue is we are the bag of meat, you know. We're not a thing inside it. We are it. You know, there's no, he argues that the ego and all that isn't separate entity. It is you. You're there, you know, nothing's separate to you. You are a part of it. And so people get caught up in this game and they think that they're so apart from it, or so in it, I guess, that everything matters so much that I must hate the other person that thinks differently to me.
Mm-hmm.
When you realize what he talks about is that, well, this person from me, adjacent to me, is me.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Just in a different circumstance, I suppose, if you will. You know? And Jordan Peterson actually talks about that. He talks about, you are the Nazi prison guard. You know? Given the right circumstances, given the life, you know, you are that person, really.
Mm-hmm.
And once you understand that you can be that person, if, you know, you so choose, I suppose, or if given the right sort of timing and stuff, you really start to realize who you are really, you know? And that's when you can sort of really get a bigger view on yourself and sort of start to realize who it is who's actually talking. He brings this point where a lot of Zen masters, the students will come seek them out, and the Zen master will be, who is it that's talking to me right now? And the student will be like, well, I'm Zach Hampson. You know, I come from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I do these things. And then the Zen master's like, no. Who are you? Who is this? Who is this talking to me right now?
Yeah.
And he makes a joke. He's like, every time somebody says that to me, whoever introduces himself, to him, he's like, in his head, he's like, oh, this is a funny way God's introducing himself to me today.
It's like that scene in Anger Management where he's like, so what do you do? And he's like, who are you? It's basically saying the same thing. And he's like, oh, well, I'm, you know, John Smith or whatever the guy's name was. He's like, no, but who are you? He's like, well, I like playing tennis. It's like, no. Who are you? He's like, fuck. He like goes crazy. I don't know. What? Just tell me the answer. I don't know. But yeah, I love what you. It's like such an interesting concept. Like just to, like, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. But like,
you gotta really listen to his fucking lectures, man. It's fucking real good.
Yeah,
I've got his book. I got 2 of his books right now. Actually, I'm looking up what they are called. I can't remember exactly the titles. Out of Your Mind and You're It.
Oh, okay. What's his name? John.
Alan Watts.
Alan Watts. There we go.
No, I don't want to rate your product right now. But yeah, Out of Your Mind is the one I'm listening to currently.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's all those lectures that I was talking about there, but in further detail.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like
really fucking good shit.
What I was sort of understanding from what you were saying, and I don't know if there's necessarily a right or wrong perception to this.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's such an abstract concept as it is.
Yeah.
But like how you were saying, there's just the present. It's like the way I was perceiving that is though is if the past can be perceived, it's because it's being perceived in the present. Therefore, it can only exist now. It doesn't exist. If it ever existed, it can only exist now.
Yeah.
And the moment nothing exists, well, nothing has ever existed.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that, I guess that's that makes sense to me in a weird way. But it's like, it's interesting, and I like the way that you were sort of saying, well, yeah, you can opt out, and in the back of my mind, I was thinking that the end result of that conversation
would
the whole
be
time was like, well, you can, but like once you understand that it is this game, this simulation, this, you know, whatever you want to call it, there is no point in opting out because that's just another element to the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And it opens up an interesting debate or discussion, which no one can really have an answer to. I mean, my opinion on it is like, if you can recycle consciousness, I think that's probably the biggest debate that's ever been, you know, since the dawn of thought.
So you mean like download it? Do you mean and put it in something else, or you mean even more specific?
Well, I guess the earliest version of that has been like reincarnation.
Oh,
right?
yes.
So people
yes.
think, okay, you can be reincarnated, or you can your consciousness can be recycled into another dimension, which religions have been
suggesting since beginning of time.
And then we've got other suggestions, but I don't really know if it's worth worrying about at the moment because like if it can be done, there's nothing I can do about it. It's, like, it's gonna happen I'm perfectly happy with like the knowledge that when I die, my body's just going to feed new life because
exactly.
Matter can't be created or destroyed, but energy can only be transferred into other forms of energy.
Exactly, and we're all energy.
Yeah, and so
That's
once
I
die, my body is just gonna like feed new life.
Yeah, man.
And like it's crazy. I mean, when you think about the initial singularity and what happened in the expansion of the entirety of the universe as we know it, it all formed from this. I think it was like it had to be smaller than an atom. I think I've heard like all the density and mass known to the universe that has ever existed and will ever exist because again can't be created or destroyed. All existed in the density that was smaller than an atom, and then it just expanded, and it's still expanding as far as we know. Yeah, and I think the fact that we like the atoms and the matter that make you and that make the bricks in this house, and that we're all once together in the size and a density smaller than an atom. That's insane to me. So that's pretty crazy. I mean, it just goes to enforce that it's just, I mean, that's entropy by definition, I think, isn't it? It's chaos,
it is, isn't it? That's
like
it.
Until it becomes like an orderly chaos.
He
something like that.
He talks about that.
Yeah.
In a couple of his lectures, he talks about that sort of entropy topic. Which is very interesting. Yeah. I won't half-ass it now by trying to talk about it, but it is something he talks about, which is interesting if you want to look into that.
Definitely. I see you've got in those books behind you, The Dichotomy of Leadership, Jocko Willink. That's Jocko Willink's book. I haven't read it, but it's on my list. I was actually going through Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Oh, yeah, I got that.
My next thing was going to be The Dichotomy of Leadership, and you've got them stacked on top of each other. So I love that.
What have I got below it? I just got Letters of Vincent and then another Terry Pratchett book.
Oh,
and then above that, I got the Gulag Archipelago.
Dude, have you gone through them yet?
They're both really good.
I love Jocko.
Yeah, Jocko's great.
Dude.
He's got a new one out. Yeah. Doesn't he? The guide to
I know he's got some kids
the
books.
field manual to leadership or something. It's a new one. Leadership field manual.
Right,
it's another field
I saw
field
it
manual
on Instagram or something.
Yes, it's his new one. It's his brand new one. He just got he just pumped it out then. Not all, released it.
Yeah. I've actually got Jocko as my wake up alarm.
Oh,
literally,
yes. Yeah.
He's got 3 different alarm things, and he's got ones for everything. Like,
was that his fucking book he recorded where it's like, wake up?
Yes. Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna give you 10 seconds to wake up. He's like, he counts to 10, and he's like, now if you've gotten up, then you can turn this alarm off. It's fine. But if you haven't, I'm not done with you yet. I've got it, and I usually get up within the 10 seconds, but like sometimes I'll sleep through it. I'll get to the second alarm, and it's like, oh my god. He's like, so you hit the snooze button. And then the third time, if you still haven't got up by that point, he's like screaming at you. He's like, get up now. It's time to rise and shine. He's like, okay. It's like,
part of me wants to get to that part, though. I want to hear him scream.
Sometimes I do, just to like, I'll be awake and I'll just sit there and just listen to him.
Listen to it,
got this majestic voice. But yeah, there's nothing quite like getting screamed at by Jocko Willink to like get you out of bed in the morning.
Yeah. Nothing quite like
it's so good, man.
A big burly man to scream at you to get you to do anything, I suppose.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's pretty fucking sick.
Yeah. But so I think I have to like change my alarms regularly because my brain just gets used to it, and it's just like I'll wake up and then even Jocko will just like put me back to sleep if my body like my tired mind like plays tricks on me. I literally like woke up this morning, and then like my unconscious sort of sleepy brain mind was just telling me that like somehow my Jocko alarm was like malfunctioning and that it was
Right.
like happening way too early, which it
Right.
wasn't. It was at the same time. It happens every day.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, you need more sleep. You have to get more sleep. I was like, and I was totally convinced. I was like, fuck.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right.
Maybe I did.
I can't
Maybe
argue
I
with
did.
that.
Maybe I will get more sleep.
Yeah, and then the second alarm came up, and I
was
looked. It's
like,
like, yeah, no, here we go.
No.
Yeah. So it's one of those interesting things.
Yeah.
How the mind plays tricks on you.
Well, the mind seeks comfort.
Yeah.
The mind always just seeks fucking comfort.
Yeah.
You know? That's just inherent. You know, it wants that comfort. It wants that secure mum's tit to just like snuggle into, sort of be there warm and just be fed,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Because that's the first thing we do as fucking
That's
human beings on this planet, you know?
Yeah.
So
We're
it makes
coddled.
sense that that's...
straight away.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we have to be, because then we won't grow.
Yeah.
But then there comes a point where you got to outgrow that fucking breast milk.
Well, I think it's interesting because, like, as we were saying, like, earlier on, was that, like, we've sort of lost our way in terms of fitness, for example.
Yes.
Like, we've got it so...
back to that, yeah.
We've got it so easy that, you know, we've got fast food, and then we've got fast delivery, and we've got fast this, and fast comfort, and fast, you know, air conditioning, and everything is just, like, optimized for our comfort level.
Yeah.
Where now we're literally just getting soft, and I don't mean that in like a metaphorical way. I'm like talking literally, like your bodies will literally like atrophy and become soft.
Yeah, it is,
and
for sure.
But mentally as well, we're getting soft, and I think the constant strive for comfort isn't a bad thing.
Yep.
But I think we need to reintegrate hurdles into our lives, because back when we were forming and life, we didn't have all the luxuries of modern day living. we had to fight for that comfort.
Yes.
It's like, okay, well, and it was a struggle, and then by the end of the day, when we finally achieved it, we weren't soft because we had to work to get it.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like I've been through the ring. But dude, I'm as soft as like anyone, but
the next motherfucker.
but like I have a habit of like seeking out uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, well, you got to get into that habit.
Yeah.
Man.
So like if it's raining, for example, if it's pissing down rain, I've just like conditioned myself to think this is the perfect time to go for a run.
Yes.
Yeah. Or if it's like blistering hot, it's
that David Goggins mentality.
Yeah, it's exactly,
sort of thing.
and that's where I got it from. Yeah. And it's like, what can I do today to like make my life a bit harder? It doesn't necessarily. Yeah, I think hard is like a negative connotation nowadays, but I think it's important to do hard things. Yeah.
Yeah, actually interesting that you say that. Because Alan Watts talks about that pursuit of the comfort, really. And I posted actually something onto my Instagram story today, which I'll go grab up right now. Where is it? Here it is. So it's funny that we got onto this topic. It says, wanting... Go back. Hold. Stay still. There it is. Wanting positive experience is a negative experience. Accepting negative experience is a positive experience. It's what the philosopher Alan Watts used to refer to as the backwards law. The idea that the more you pursue feeling better all the time, the less satisfied you become, as pursuing something only reinforces the fact that you lack it in the first place. The more you desperately want to be rich, the more poor and unworthy you feel, regardless of how much money you actually make. The more you desperately want to be sexy and desired, and the uglier you become to see yourself, regardless of your actual physical appearance. The more you desperately want to be happy and loved, the lonelier and more afraid you become, regardless of those who surround you. The more you want to be spiritually enlightened, the more self-centered and shallow you become in trying to get there. So yeah, it's
100%, dude.
It's that pursuit
Couldn't agree more.
It's that pursuit of the uncomfortable, you know, that really does anything.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know if David Goggins said it or if I was inspired to come up with this quote. I have a lot of quotes that I'm not sure if they're mine or
just
not.
fucking in your head.
Yeah.
You're just like, yeah.
So can people say, yeah, oh, did you say that? And I was like, I don't know.
It's like, man,
maybe.
I am the man in the mirror. I don't know who said that, but I think Michael Jackson.
Maybe, yeah. I'm going to own it anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't own any of my quotes nowadays. I just hand it off to some phantom.
What do we really know?
But
go on.
It was probably some hard, crazy person. But my philosophy is that my comfort is the discomfort.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's you
My
can just
comfort
like
is the
summarize like in entire manhood with that one
with that
quote.
sort of shit. Yeah.
Find comfort in the discomfort, and I think you'll be right. Yeah, there's a lot of aspects to growing up, man. I'm 23. I'm still young, and the only thing I can really muster together from my entire life philosophy is don't be a pussy.
Yeah. Because when who talks about this? What's his name? Who came up with the shadow and all that? What's his name? Somebody screaming at the screen right now, going, like, "Fucking this guy, it's him. How do you not remember his name?" It's fucking what's his name? The really great philosopher who said God is dead and we've killed him.
It's not Nietzsche.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? It was Nietzsche, wasn't it? But he I'm pretty sure it was him that talked about if you really spend time like trying to evaluate yourself and going deep into yourself, you realize that you don't know anything really, and that when you get down to it, what do you really know?
Yeah.
Like, what do you know for certain that hasn't been told to you by somebody else?
Yeah.
Not much. I mean, I know I'm here, right?
Mm-hmm.
To a certain extent, right? I mean, we can extrapolate that and go a bit more like, how do you know you're here? Is that not just your eyes?
I mean,
or your senses telling you are here?
All you really know is I think, therefore I am. That was
that's that shit. Yeah, that's fucking shit.
It's like that's the base level of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's all we know for certain.
That's all we know, is that just because we think, therefore we are here.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking doesn't necessarily mean much, because we all know somebody that has the capacity to think but doesn't seem to actually look like they have the capacity to think.
Yeah, we've got a lot of human jellyfish bobbing around here.
Yeah. I mean, in a certain extent, I'm sure I'm guilty of being a jellyfish
100%.
too. So, but yeah, so it's really interesting to think about that, thinking about what is it that I know really. And when you really spend time, if you write this down, you write down all the things that you know really, and be really scrutinize what you're writing down. Really think, do I really know that, or is that something I have been told?
Mm-hmm.
And then to a certain extent, we don't know anything without somebody else, really. I don't know that I'm a good drawer because I think I am.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm pretty good. But I only know I'm good because somebody looks at it and tells me it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Or their reaction says it's good.
Yeah.
And
you can extrapolate some sort of confirmation.
People tell you who you are, right? Through the way that they sort of deal with you and the way that they interact with you. And that's really the only sort of the point of reference that we really ever have is from somebody else. So really nothing can exist without something else being there, to either be the opposite or be a confirmation of it.
Yeah. I had Emily Payne on an episode of my podcast last year, and she said something similar. She said that like how easy it is for like people to be brainwashed, and I can testify to that because when I was growing up, I was in a church scenario, and I was definitely under like a brainwashing sort of impression.
Oh yeah,
and I caught myself, and I was like, "Whoa, what's going on?"
Yeah,
because there was a very very short period of time where I had like flipped my thinking.
Okay, so what happened?
And well, I was in church, and I was in church because my friends were in church, and I was young, I was impressionable, and
Yes.
so I sort of just found myself
It was
there.
just.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one day, I was sitting there listening to a sermon, and one of the preachers said, and there's a potential bill passing that's going to let like gay marriage
Right.
be a thing. And
Right.
I was probably like 13 or 14, and in my mind I thought, this is great. Now I'm in a church which is supposed to be a loving, accepting,
Yeah.
culture and society.
Mhm.
I didn't really know too much about the religion at all. And then straight after, so I was like, yeah, fantastic. That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
great,
yeah.
because I'm
Okay,
a big
so you're
advocate for, like,
Just
people
people doing
just
what they
equal
wanna do.
rights and equal opportunity and whatever, and love. And so I was like, fantastic. And then immediately after they said, so we just really need to pray against this and condemn this. And I was like, oh, shit, is this a bad thing? Because I had an uncle that was gay, and I had several friends come out, and it's like, even young, like, people don't really come to terms with their sexuality until they're like in their sort of mid to late teens. And
Well, yeah.
from my experience, I mean, I always sort of knew, where I was at, but even when I was around,
Yeah, you
like,
saw a titty and you're like,
I was like,
yeah, that's it.
yeah, that's the one.
This is it, Chief. I know what's up.
But yeah, when I was around sort of that, like, 10 to 13 age bracket, I was like, I was a bit unsure. I was like, fuck, am I? Because I recognized that there was a dude and he was clearly attractive.
Yeah,
and
well,
I think one of my friends caught onto that, and they started giving me shit for it, as friends do.
yeah.
And so I was like, fuck, maybe I am gay. And I learned very quickly, no, I'm not.
Which is something, is worth pondering.
Yeah,
and maybe you are what you don't think you are. You know, it's always worth,
And I think
like
it's such a taboo thing, and people, like, probably don't want to admit that they've had similar thoughts. But and maybe you haven't, which is totally fine. But I would, I think it'd be safe to bet that a lot of people have
at least
thoughts.
had some sort of thought process of, like, okay, that person's attractive. What does that mean?
Yeah.
But then there's a very gray area because, like you said, it's being an artist. I see people as just really objects that the light bounces around, and so when I look at somebody, I'm not looking at what I think of as a human being right in front of me, because I've trained my eyes to not see what it is you usually see. I've trained my eyes to see things how I would see things, so I can translate them into two-dimensional things with, like, charcoal, right? That's my niche, and so
That's my Frederick niche.
yes, and so talking about that is, you looking at somebody, I can tell if they're handsome or I can tell if they're not. There's generally an aesthetic that is very pleasing to the eyes, right? And that's not necessarily homosexual at all. That's just, yes, that person has good aesthetic appealing features that in one way or another are very pleasing to the eye to look over, right? That's just a natural thing. But the thing where we get caught up in today is, again, people telling you what you are. That's where you got to really separate yourself from whatever else is.
Yeah.
Right? Because that person is just immediately like, you're gay.
Yeah, you're gay as fuck.
Yeah. Whereas you could have been, and your thought process could have been just simply, oh yes, physically appealing, aesthetically appealing. My eyes run over this with ease, right? And it's not until somebody tells you something that you may not have necessarily been thinking that you go, oh, okay, maybe I am.
Yeah.
But
exactly
because you
right.
weren't allowed to finish that thought process, you sort of go into the thinking of, like, oh, maybe I am. Maybe I am because they said so.
Trying to get nudged into a new lane.
Because how we sort of find ourselves is just inherently, this isn't good or bad or necessarily anything in between. how we sort of find ourselves is again from other people. Oh, that drawing's good because they responded to it well, or I'm a good runner because people said I run fast and I do good in a race because I can see that I ran faster than the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't know if I'm a good runner or a fast runner if I'm just running against myself because I can't get faster than myself, really. And so you're always basing yourself on something else. And so, that's where I think people can really get a bit hung up on it because they're not allowed, in a sense, our society doesn't cultivate that. I mean, it shouldn't have to, but it would be nice if it did. This thinking process of, you aren't necessarily what people tell you are. So if you were allowed to finish that thought process without somebody saying that you were gay, you might have found out that you were, you just thought very appealing to look at.
Exactly, yeah.
And then not thought about it ever again. It's just the circumstances we live in, really. And that's where I think a lot of kids get really hung up on these days, I think, is the world telling them, because it is very much celebrated and promoted nowadays to be like homosexual, to be transgendered, and so that promotion and that celebration makes people be like, oh, well, I want to be celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be promoted, so there can be that sort of trap of people thinking, oh, well, I want to be in this, so and it's not hard for me to make the leap to be like, that person is appealing physically to look at, to then be like, that person's sexually attractive.
Yes.
So that leap's not that far from that leap,
Yeah.
Right? It's not like a big jump. And so that's where I get a little bit like, maybe we shouldn't be so caught up in letting people say what we are and letting people, tell people what they are, because at the end of the day, you got to really sit back and it is a hard process to sit back and think about what it is that I am, what it is that I know, like we were talking about before. So to your point, I think people at the end of the day really need to really evaluate themselves, not get caught up in the hype around a certain thing, not get caught up in any sort of aspect of thing, but really sit back and be like, really think about it, really be in it, really be present with yourself, and that takes a lot. That takes a lot to be in that.
A lot of people don't ever find that.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
People
100%.
go their whole lives without fucking thinking about that.
And I mean, it's interesting comparing cultures as well, because there's so many cultural like extremes, like differences, and for Western culture, which we're a part of, there's just this weird sense of like enforcing ideology and formulating a sense of identity, especially from a very young age.
On that ideology, yeah.
And like I think it's most prevalent in like the sexualization of like young kids, like becoming Hollywood stars and things like that.
Yes.
It's like, well, they are this person, and then they have a warped sense of identity rather than just remaining indifferent to how people are interacting. I think there's like, I don't know, it should just be more of an observational approach to like society, and as long as I don't know, I don't really have the answers, but
nobody has the answers, man.
But I think just taking an indifferent approach to how people discover themselves is probably, but in saying that, like my ideas were sort of being a little bit influenced and warped by my friends who, again, were the same age as me. And so I think it's inherent that bullying is never going to stop, especially for young people.
Nor should it, in some circumstances, it should be a thing, because then you get the sense of there is limits to this game that we play.
Exactly.
And there's things that, you can do, and there's things that you can't do.
Yeah.
And so at an early age, you get this sense of limitations.
Yep.
Which, for better or worse, sometimes it might be bad or good, but sorry, continue on.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I mean, I think there should be restrictions, and there should be like reins on kids, especially from parents and guardians and teachers and whoever, our elders in general, have to sort of tame the bullying. But I don't think it needs to be like so. I mean, because people are gonna, whether you like it or not, like you're gonna be subjected to adversity.
Yeah, well,
it's like, I mean, you can't, you know, hold the training wheels on forever. You have to learn to ride at some point. But getting back to what I was saying with Emily Payne being on my podcast. I sort of like said, Emily Payne was on my podcast. And then the devil. And it's like, no, she's actually like a lovely person. She made a really, really good point, was that when you, like about brainwashing and how easy it is, like if I were to tell you, and this was what she told me, and I'll try and explain it as easily as she explained it to me, because if I were to tell you, Zach, you're a puppy dog, well, that would obviously be insane. It's like, no one's going to believe that. But if everyone started saying that for the rest of your life, then you'd probably, start questioning yourself. You'd be thinking, fuck, well,
am I a fucking puppy dog?
Yeah, am I a puppy dog? Like, and
I'm certainly treated like one.
Yeah. If you're treated like one, if you're told that you're one, if you're, you know, getting, you know, every single aspect of a puppy dog's life, like enforced onto you, you're probably going to think that there's something different about you, that you're not a human being anymore. And unless you're very, very strong-willed, which I'd hope that, you know, you're...
Well, at that age, you know, if we're talking about young... You don't, you know... Because your sense of will has to come from something that's grounded, right? You got to, you know... And when you're that young... You don't have anything that's particularly grounded, right? Other than what you've been told. And then if what you've been told changes, per se, if like somebody starts saying, oh, you're a fag, you know, so then you're like, oh, whoa, wow, am I?
Yeah.
Am I a loser?
Yeah.
You know? Like, then what you're being told changes, and then you got to, you know, we're not really taught how to adapt to being told positively what certain things are and being told negatively what certain things are. You know, you're just told things and then you're expected to do with them as you will.
Yeah.
You know? And often the case is like you just accept things as they come, right? You're not really told anything other than that.
And it's, I was going to bring it up before as well, which I think it relates back to what we're saying now, is how personalities are sort of developed. Was you were saying, you know, the time and place and everything has its effect on the person that you become. Dale Carnegie actually said it in one of his books. I can't remember which one, but he basically said if you were born at the same time that Al Capone was born, in the same place with the same genetic components and the same in every single element that made Al Capone, and you were subjected to those same elements, would you not be Al Capone? And I had this, I said that to someone fairly recently, within the last year or so, and they were firmly against it because they thought, no, you have free will, you can choose to be whoever you want. It's like, yeah, but I'm sure his free will was influenced by all of his environment and his genetic factors and everything as well. And to a certain degree, yes, we have to take ownership from a personalized standpoint, but that demeanor...
Maybe he did. You know, maybe he did take ownership of his personal,
I mean,
where he was. But that just happened to personify itself and manifest itself into what he was.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that was a manifestation of him taking his own action and will. You know, we don't really know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, we're sitting here quoting his name, so he's obviously renowned for something. It's like whether, you know,
for good or worse.
For better or worse, it's
it's still being talked about.
It's a very interesting concept, you know, just human psychology in general. Have you done the or heard of the Myers-Briggs type indicator?
No, what's that?
It's a personality testing
I've
thing.
done Jordan Peterson's one.
Yeah, I've done Jordan Peterson's one, the Big Five.
I've done that one.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm the first percentile in politeness.
In really?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm first percentile in politeness.
Oh, okay.
Which means I'm
no one's polite, more polite than you.
No. It means nobody's more unpolite.
Oh,
than me.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. So that was very interesting.
I actually remember doing his one and then being a bit like jarred by some of the
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 results.
results because there was one aspect of it, and I was sort of embarrassed by it initially. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't intellect, but or maybe it was one of the and it was like quite average. And
Yes.
then he said intellect doesn't translate to intelligence.
No.
And I was like, oh, okay. And thank God.
I still have a big pee-pee.
Yeah.
I'm still big.
But
Yeah.
it's very, very interesting. So you can like check out the Myers-Briggs one as well. I think
Right. So is it similar, or
It's-
how's it different?
it is similar. It basically categorizes you into 16 potential personalities that are derived of 4 elements.
Right.
And so my personality is called the INFJ, which stands for what's the first one? Introverted, intuitive, feeling, judging. So those are the 4 elements that make up.
Intuitive, judging.
And
Okay. What's the 4th? Introverted, intuitive, judging,
feeling, judging.
feeling. So
Feeling.
feeling's one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Right.
so it can either be introverted or extroverted.
Yep.
Intuitive or sensing.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling or thinking. And then judging or perceiving. And so any variation of those are going to categorize you into a 16, different categories. And so mine is the INFJ. Another example is like an INTJ or an ENFP, or blah, 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 list goes on.
Okay.
And it's really, really interesting because when I did it, a friend from my gym got me into it, and he's super, super into psychology. And it basically just like goes through every element of your personality and what it means, what you may have already gone through in your life, how to tackle, future adversities and things like that. Right. And I was a bit skeptical at first, and it's like only like a 15 or 20 minute free test on the internet.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know if this is completely accurate, because even though it is very, very, it seems personalized to me. That's also how like psychics and fortune tellers and stuff get you. It's just like calculated guessing. And so I started looking at all the other ones, like an INTJ or an INFP, for example, and they were all like so different to me.
Yeah.
And then I read through my one, and it was like, yep, that's me. And then and it hits you hard, dude, because it doesn't it's not polite about what it tells you. It's like it slams you. There are some cool things, like it tells you who else famous
Has the
fiction and non-fiction characters are like the same personality as you.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool. But yeah, you can look into that one. I think it's definitely worth it. I'll send you the link. I'll put it on my Instagram or something.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah.
Especially if it's free.
Yeah. And there's another one that that same guy sent me, and it cost like $12.
Okay.
And I haven't done that one. But the Jordan Peterson one cost a bit of money.
It was like 14.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was like $14 or
wasn't
something like that.
expensive at all.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's like so many out there, but I think it's definitely interesting to get into it.
So with that, what did that reveal to you? That free one. What were some of the things it was saying? Unless you don't feel comfortable.
No, dude, I'm an open book.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things it reveals.
Oh yes. Oh.
No. So yeah, it basically, you can sort of derive it from, like, you can break it down into the elements that it was.
Yeah.
So like the first one, introverted. So
Okay.
I think it was like, I was sort of on the fence. Like I was like 60% introverted, like 40% extroverted, because it depends on like your scenario and like your environment and like particular people you're more comfortable with and whatnot.
Yeah, well,
but
that
more
makes
so
sense.
I'm introverted.
More so than anything.
More so than anything.
Right.
Especially when I was younger, I was like a hermit crab. I would never come out.
Yeah.
And then the intuitive. So what that means, what that revealed to me, and it's cool understanding about yourself, first and foremost, because you can understand how you can more effectively operate in the world in this so-called game. And so intuitive, that just, as opposed to what was it? As opposed to sensing, is
Okay.
that I can more effectively pick up on like body language, like the tiniest little like details. I'll like
Yeah.
and because I was really high in the intuitive
Right.
ranking, and so I like understand like if anything's off color, like whereas anyone else like probably wouldn't see anything different about a particular person or a particular situation. It's like the tiniest little things I can like pick up on it, and I can't help but like dig into it and like try and figure out what's wrong. And for the most part, not to toot my own horn, but for the most part, I'm usually right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
about
Yeah.
like what's happening.
Yeah.
And I think that almost goes hand in hand with introversion, because I'm not like, overtly like trying to like
Yeah.
find out about something. I'm
Well,
sort of just
yeah.
sitting back and like
It
observing.
does come hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the feeling is, as it sounds, is I'm just a bit more empathetic than your average person.
Yep.
And the flip side to that would be thinking. So you can just take more of an objective approach to something. So
Yep.
to negative situations, you can understand why someone would be feeling that way, but you can't relate necessarily to those feelings.
Okay.
But yeah, for me, feeling, it's like I can't watch a sad movie without welling up.
Right. Yes.
And then Jay is judging. I can't remember exactly what that was about. It's
Right.
similar to my intuition. It was judging and perceiving. So my judging would be, I guess I have to operate within a circumstance and like try and find my way around a social situation, rather than just letting the chips fall where they may and just observing how it all happens. Which is, it's contradictory to like some of the other elements at the same time, which is interesting because the INFJ personality, which is what I am, is the rarest personality. It's like less than 1%.
Right.
Which is...
so why is it so rare? Is this a combination of everything?
Yeah,
or
it's
is
just a
that
combination of everything.
Right. Empathetic and being open and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it revealed a lot about me, and it's not like a hard and fast thing. It's not like you're an INFJ and that you can never be anything else.
Yeah, well,
like
everything's open to change.
Yeah. I mean, anything happens.
We're human beings.
Loss, like tragedy. I mean, negative emotions affect us.
Fucking heavy.
Yeah, I mean, more so than
anything.
You know? I mean, I watched a Vsauce video recently.
Oh yeah.
About
I
dreaming.
haven't fucking watched Vsauce in so long.
I'm addicted to it, dude.
Jesus, they're still going.
Hey, Vsauce.
Is it still the same, Michael? It's still him?
Michael. He's still doing
Fucking
it.
hell.
Yeah, dude, he's an open book. That guy's a wealth of knowledge. But he was talking about dreams in this one thing, and he basically said at one point of the video, the most prevalent emotions that we feel when we awake from a dream are all mostly negative. When we're remembering something, it's like because it's anxiety and it's fear based, and it's sometimes we have really good dreams and we're like pumped about it, but a lot of the time we wake up and it's like our confusion is sort of like based on these like weird anxious thoughts that we've had during our sleep, because our cortisol levels are usually pretty high whilst we're in REM sleep, which is a stress hormone. And I don't know why. I think that was the conclusion to his video, is like we know so much about the cosmos and the universe and outer space and everything in physics, but we don't really know why we dream. And it's like crazy. But fear is a powerful substance.
Yeah, it's not as powerful as hope though, because as soon as you have hope, then whatever sort of person putting fear on top of you, that's then gone. Whatever power they had. Because then they talk about that in sort of dictatorship sort of places, in the Gulag Archipelago and stuff. He talks about that a little bit. As soon as like the person has hope, that sort of fear and stuff doesn't have as much weight and power over them. The human spirit's very strange entity in that sense.
I was reading about what was his name? It was about a Jew in the in World War II,
Mm-hmm.
and I think his name was Peleski. I could be wrong.
Sounds very Jewish. Yes.
Yeah,
Probably is.
Yeah, it was something like that. And
Yeah.
he basically had a plan to liberate this this camp, like this prisoner of war camp that was
Okay.
filled with Jews.
Right.
And so he purposely got himself caught at one
Mm.
point after deriving a plan to get everyone liberated, and then
Okay.
that plan tragically fell through. So like
Okay.
it didn't go the way he expected, and he ended up being in the camp for something like 4 years.
Mm.
And but his name was sort of remembered for the most part for years and decades. And his story goes on. It's a very complex story because he
Okay.
ended up escaping and then getting
Oh, okay.
recaptured and then
Oh,
escaping
Jesus.
again, I think.
Fucking hell.
And yeah, he was just like a golden worm, that guy. But his name was remembered and revered for his unwavering sense of hope.
Yes.
It's just like it never ever dropped,
S-
even
yeah.
in the
Well, to escape and then be recaptured and then
yeah.
did he escape again after?
think
it?
so,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can,
yeah.
can
'Cause I
kind of.
think he lived a very long life, and
Okay.
he ended up dying like old. But I think maybe I got that wrong.
Maybe.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, his name was revered throughout the entire like World War as
Somebody
a
that just
symbol
never
for
gave
hope.
up.
Yeah,
Hope.
never give up, and yeah, even in the darkest of times, I think fear is most prevalent and impactful to us when it's inflicted upon us by ourselves.
Yeah.
Again, it's like incepted into us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like we can be told, again, the puppy dog analogy is like we can be told we're a certain thing until we believe it,
Mm-hmm.
and then we just it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. We just
Yeah.
live that lifestyle, and so fear-mongering is most effective if you want someone to be afraid, I guess, by making them believe that they are worthless, because then they're not
Yeah.
going to fight against you. I mean,
Yeah.
there's tons and tons of like stories. I remember doing a philosophy class when I was studying at uni.
Yep.
And he said, "Have you read this book or seen this movie?" And he was listing all these movies, and he's like, and no one had seen any of these movies or read these books. And he's like, "Okay, what about A Bug's Life?" It's like, and everyone's seen
Okay.
A Bug's Life. Like, fuck yeah, I've seen A Bug's Life. But that's like an archetypical
yes.
Example of like fear mongering. And if you believe that you can't be something, you will just never be that thing.
Yes.
Because you're against yourself. And so we see that as an example with these ants. And there's a classic scene in The Bug's Life where he's what is he? Is he a grasshopper?
It's been a very fucking long time since
Yeah,
I've seen it.
he's
But
like
yeah.
the main villain is like a grasshopper, right?
Okay.
And he's got this posse of other grasshoppers,
Yes.
and there's not many of them, but there's enough.
Yeah.
And he's basically giving this analogy where he throws this like piece of corn or something at one of the grasshoppers and said, "Did that hurt? No. Did that hurt?" And he's throwing one at a time. And then he just like buries him in like hundreds of thousands of corn.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "How about that? Did that hurt?" Well, those are ants, and right now we've got them believing that they can't fight us.
Yes.
But they can, and they learn that by the end of the film, and they
Which is
rise up against the oppression of these grasshoppers because they finally have hope. Because this Peleski
Yes.
character, which is the main
Yes.
protagonist of the film, ended up being that spark of hope. That, yeah, I mean, we saw it in Star Wars. I mean, it's a very like typical like trait that we see in
Very much
a
a
lot of
story
movies.
that's told throughout all of human history.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah.
So yeah, hope
Yeah.
reigns.
Alan Watts talks about a similar thing, where he talks about how. Oh, I've lost my train of thought.
yeah.
But yeah, I've totally lost my train
Yeah,
of thought.
it's like rising up against depression and
Rising
like
up against
believing
depression.
in yourself and hope.
Yeah, he
instilling-
talks about how governments don't like gurus. They don't like spiritual people because they tell people that they are more than what they are, right? And once you get a certain amount of people believing that they are more than what they are, You know, the system that's in place doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and this sort of sense of structure doesn't work anymore. And so the real people that be in power never really want people to wake up to themselves, you know, are always against people that tell people that they can wake up to themselves. So he talks about that, which is very interesting because it goes along the same lines. It's like we live that today, you know. People don't want you to know that you are more than your fucking job.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You are more than like what you clock in, clock out of every day, or who you believe that you are based on what your parents did or said about you. You know? Yeah.
There's an interesting story that I read, and I can't for the life of me remember who it was, but it's a true story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you can look it up anywhere.
Yeah.
But I think it was in the 60s in America, there was this bunch of riots that were happening, and like thousands of people were rioting against some thing.
Was that for the Vietnam War or?
Most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the government hired this very well-known famous musician at the time
Oh yeah.
to diffuse the crowds, to get up on stage and basically diffuse these riots.
Yes.
And he successfully did it,
Oh.
like very easily.
Yeah. Well,
And because everyone loved him and revered him, and he was like a figure that was like, I don't know, very instrumental in this sort of movement. And the government regarded him as one of the most dangerous men in the world at that point, because they thought if he can stop a riot, he can start one.
He certainly could.
And I guess that's what you were saying, these gurus or anyone that can really instill a sense of hope and this sense that you are more than what society tells you to be. I mean, my favorite movie of all time, or one of, is Fight Club, and that sounds like so growy, but literally the most famous monologue is from Brad Pitt in there, and he's saying, "You're more than the money in your bank. You're not the car you drive. You're not your fucking car keys. You're not consumerism. Consumerism has us buying cars and clothes and shit we don't need to impress people that we don't know."
Yeah. Yeah, or
And-
necessarily care about.
Yeah, or care about, or like,
Yeah.
and for some reason we've just subscribed to the
Idea that we should do that.
the ideology that is the life. I mean, the whole movie opens up on the scene where like
He's selling soap.
Oh,
no, it wasn't soap.
Edward Norton's like on the toilet and he's like on the phone at the same time. He's like taking a shit but still ordering furniture for his apartment. He's like, yes, I'd
Yeah,
like.
that's
he's
right.
like going through a magazine and he's like, I'd like the deluxe Pro 2000, please. Yes, I'll have it delivered here. And then his apartment, spoiler alert for those who
That's
haven't seen,
right. Yeah.
his apartment blows up.
Down. Yeah, it blows up. Hey.
Yeah. And you find out later on,
well,
exactly why.
Why? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like,
I won't.
Don't spoil it for people.
No, I won't. But yeah, it's one of my favorite movies ever. If you want like it's so easy to skip over like the importance of those themes that are current like through that movie. So it's on a face value, it's just like an action movie, I guess. But like when you
really
get down
dig into it,
it's like, my God, this is like a remedy for life. This movie, and the author of the novel that it was based on actually said that the screenplay was actually an improvement on his story.
Oh, really?
Which is very very humbling of him to say.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, one scene that stuck out for me through that movie was the scene where they're doing that whole recruiting thing, I suppose.
Yeah.
And basically was just going up to dudes and pushing them to the edge where they had to do something, you know. And that one scene where he takes this guy, where he goes into the Brad Pitt's character takes what's his name's character?
Petrol station.
Yeah, into the petrol station.
Yeah.
And he takes that guy's character into the petrol station and goes to the guy at the counter.
Yeah.
And like fully fucking like drags him out. Did he have a gun to his head?
He
and
had
everything?
a gun.
He had a full gun. Drags him out. And goes like, "What do you want to be? What do you want to be?"
It's like, I want to be a vet.
He's like, I just want to be. I want to be a vet. And he's like, he like takes his license and takes his wallet and she's like, if I come back here in a week and you're not on your way to being a vet, you're gonna fucking die or something.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I don't have enough money. He's like, have you got enough money to fucking die?
Yeah.
He's something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it proves like when you're fucking really at it, you know, when you're really pushed to the edge, right? You shouldn't have to be pushed to the edge for you to live what you want to live, right? It's just goes back to what people tell you are. You know?
Yeah. And I'm not like advocating putting a gun to someone's
head
and
yeah.
like and doing that, but I think Brad Pitt did it for us. So we're like, okay.
The example was
finally,
set.
Yeah. And funnily enough, after that scene, he I think it was important to show that he actually opened up the chamber of the gun and showed that he didn't have bullets in the gun.
Yeah, he didn't.
Yeah, but he didn't. He was that was like just a fear thing, a fear to inspire hope, which is very, very interesting. Yeah, man, such a good movie.
Yeah,
such a freaking good movie.
So I guess to sort of wrap it up, because it's been an hour and 30 minutes. It's been a good talk.
Yeah, it has been.
I think that's a really good spot to end it.
Yeah.
You know, while this video has been playing, I'm sure I've sped it up to where I'm finishing off the drawing. You know, which isn't actually not too far off from finishing as I'm talking right now. But you can be more than your circumstances if you choose to be. You know, I just had a kid. You know, me and Av are planning to get married. I don't necessarily make enough money to support myself financially, right, from my art, but I choose to leave my job that, you know, didn't do anything for me other than get paid paycheck to paycheck, you know, really just pay off my bills or pay for my materials and shit. What it did for me, rather, was sort of put me in a mindset of comfort, put me in a mindset of like, oh, well, this, you know, I've got that money coming in, I don't need to try that hard on my art. Now that I've left it in, you know, one of the circumstances where any sort of person with a head on their shoulders, quotation mark, you know, would be like, oh, well, this is the time where you get a real job, you know, and start really fucking paying bills and shit like that. I chose to do the opposite, you know. I chose to leave this job which gave secure, you know, money, because I realized that nothing in life is secure other than yourself. You realize that, you know, when you're really doing what you want to do, right, nobody can take that away from you, right? Nobody can just come to you today, hey, Jacob, you're fired today. You know, you're like, I'm not planning to fire myself from making my art. This is my shit. This is my jam. You know, I love doing this shit, right? I'm not going to fire myself.
Yeah.
But anybody at any point could come up to you, no matter how much you're making, you know, and just tell you to get the fuck out. You know, they can take that away from you at any time. Whether, you know, but what people can't take away from you is what you love to do in life. Yeah.
100%, man. I couldn't have said it better myself.
So, I guess if there is any way to live, the only way to live is to live dangerously, I suppose. And that's it.
That's the money right there.
Yeah.
Live dangerously.
So thanks for watching. This is the first episode in a long series of episodes coming forward. I hope you enjoyed the drawing. Hope you enjoyed the talk. Jacob, did you enjoy the process?
I loved it, dude.
Did you want to come up? Did you want to see how it looks?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, see how.
The anticipation's killing me.
Come around.
Right.
So this is what I got so
nice.
far.
I love that.
Yeah. So this is what I got so far while we're talking. You know, I think I've captured a lot of likeness there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can see straight away. Holy shit.
Yeah, you
I
like
that.
it?
Yeah.
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 But I'll show you the finished thing. So I guess my plans for this whole thing is that, you know, with these drawings, maybe at the end of this year, either put them together in a book, transcribe some of the interview alongside the drawing, maybe, or, you know, transcribe some of these episodes into a blog post with alongside the drawing and photo of you and us together or something like that, as well as the video itself. But with that, all the people that come after you, you know, all these people that I'm going to plan on drawing and stuff, I think that would be a really cool process. And, you know, capturing somebody through my hand with a medium is a lot more than just taking a photo of somebody. I really believe it's this spiritual thing that comes forth from my hand from years of practice, where I'm translating the world as I not only see it but I feel it, and it's coming forward here on the piece of paper. So I feel like that's a really interesting element to add to this whole sort of talking aspect of this podcast, video, blog, however you're consuming this thing. But yeah, live dangerously, I think, is a good way to put this podcast. Yeah, especially considering what it's come from.
Yeah. I mean, my closing statement would be find comfort in the discomfort. Yeah, that's my thing. That's how I'm living life at the moment. Yeah.
And realize you are the universe experiencing itself.
Yeah, and listen. What was Watts?
Alan Watts. Alan Watts. Yeah.
Listen to him.
All right. Yeah. Catch you guys later.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for watching this first ever episode of this series. So in the beginning I did say that I would at some point probably speed up the video maybe. While I was filming I didn't really have any sort of idea how I was going to edit it all together, but as you saw there at the end I sort of sped up in a little minute block of the little changes I made after Jacob left. Now after doing that I realized that, you know what I should do, which would be better for everybody, and so that the sitter gets to see it finished in front of them, is that when the interview part is like finished, per se, I'll get the sitter to sit there for another 30 or so minutes, and I'll try and bring the drawing to as much of a finish as I possibly can, and finish the hands off the drawing, leave it as is as I finish it in that 30-minute block. So that's the idea as it goes forward, but this whole series is up to change and development and evolution, as it says. But I hope you enjoyed the first episode, and I will be back next week with another episode. Catch you guys.